With Caitlin, how do you think that she looked out there? How is she feeling after, playing the back-to-back?
Yeah, she seemed to be feeling pretty good. I mean, I think we'll get more of a sense tomorrow. There were times where I felt like she looked like she was a little off balance, but nothing that I thought was concerning. She played. I thought she played heavy minutes. I thought she did a really good job.
I thought she played heavy minutes.
Heavy minutes. Hold on to that phrase, because in about 90 seconds, the box score is going to make it look ridiculous.
Caitlin Clark played 26 minutes. That's heavy minutes. Heavy minutes is like deep into the 30s. 26 minutes is heavy minutes. This lady is diabolical. This lady is diabolical. Just look us dead in the face and lie.
26 minutes. That is the number. That is the entire argument in one line. Heavy minutes in this league means deep into the 30s. Starters who are trusted, healthy, and unrestricted live at 32, 34, sometimes 38 in a close one. 26 is a third string of a night. 26 is what you play when somebody upstairs has already decided where the ceiling is before tip-off. So either the definition of heavy has quietly changed, or the podium is describing a game none of us watched.
Ace.
Times where I felt like she looked like she was a little off balance, but nothing that I thought was concerning. She played. I thought she played heavy minutes. I thought she did a really good job of taking what they gave her. Her facilitating was outstanding. She wasn't making the same kind of shots she was making yesterday, but I think that's to be expected on a back-to-back for the first time in a couple of seasons.
Now listen to what actually got said there, because it is a masterclass in saying nothing while sounding forthcoming. A little off balance, but nothing concerning. Played heavy minutes. Did a good job taking what they gave her. Facilitating was outstanding. Wasn't hitting the same shots as yesterday, but that's expected on a back-to-back for the first time in a couple of seasons. Every single one of those sentences is technically defensible. Not one of them answers the question that was asked. The question was, how does she look, and how is she feeling? The answer was a compliment sandwich with a medical shrug in the middle. And here is the part I want you to sit with, because it comes back later in this video, and it is bigger than one post-game quote. The minutes were not random. They were not feel-it-out minutes. They followed a pattern so precise you could set a timer by it, and once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee what it implies about the plan nobody will say out loud.
I just wish you guys could be transparent with us about what is going on. You have fans buying tickets. Can you let them know if she's actually going to be on a minutes restriction or not? Can you actually let them know before they keep spending money? People don't know if Aaliyah Boston's going to play or not. Just buy your ticket. You don't have to know if Aaliyah Boston's going to play or not. Just buy your ticket. You don't have to know if Caitlin Clark gets the free reins to play a full allotment of minutes or if she's on a real restriction.
This is where it stops being a basketball argument and starts being a consumer argument. Because the people getting hurt here are not the media. The media gets in free. The people getting hurt are the ones who booked a flight, paid for parking, paid resale, and walked in holding a ticket that cost multiples of what that same seat cost 2 years ago. Those people are not asking for injury records or private medical files. They are asking one simple question. Is the player I am paying to see going to be on the floor in the fourth quarter? Yes or no? That is it. That is the whole ask. And the answer they keep getting is a shrug dressed up as caution. Come to the arena, spend your money, and find out live.
Like before the game, you said that she was not on a strict minutes restriction. The minutes restriction been 25 minutes. She played 26 minutes. That's not a coincidence. To sit there in front of the microphone and say she played heavy minutes when she played 26 minutes. You said heavy minutes like she played 35, 36 minutes. What are you talking about?
Here is the contradiction laid flat. Before the game, the framing was there is no strict restriction. We'll play it by feel. We'll see how she's moving. After the game, the framing was she played heavy minutes. The reported restriction has been 25 minutes. She played 26, 1 minute over the cap. On a night where the coaching staff said out loud that she looked fine, that she was feeling good, that her facilitating was outstanding. If there is genuinely no restriction, and the plan is genuinely to read her body in real time, then landing one single minute past the exact number that was already reported is one of the great coincidences in the history of this sport. I do not believe in that kind of coincidence. I do not think you do either, and I want to be fair here, because there is an innocent version of this. A team can absolutely have an internal ramp-up plan and choose not to broadcast it for competitive reasons. That is legitimate. But if that is what this is, say that. Say we have a plan. We are not sharing the details. Here is roughly what fans should expect. That is transparency, without giving away the game plan. What we got instead was a denial before tip and a rebrand after.
With Caitlin, got the tech there in the first quarter. Did you get explanation on that technical foul? And then secondly, because it's 6 and 8 you get suspended, does that conversation around that suspension get louder?
Yeah, I didn't ask for an explanation. You know, I think there was a reaction probably after a call or a no call. I don't remember exactly at that moment.
And then the second threat of the night, which honestly deserves its own conversation. A technical foul in the first quarter, and a reporter connecting it to something a lot of casual fans do not track. The league's accumulation rule. You reach a certain number of technicals across the season, and the penalty stops being a fine and becomes a suspension. Then it keeps escalating from there. The coach's answer was that she didn't ask for an explanation and figured it was a reaction to a call. Which, fine, coaches say that. But notice that a question about a rule with real consequences got the same energy as a question about a rotation tweak. Nobody on that stage seemed especially alarmed that the franchise's most valuable asset is walking a line that ends with her in street clothes.
But yeah.
Caitlin, I ain't gonna lie, you gotta calm down with the text. That tech you got in this game was unnecessary. I gotta keep it all the way real. That tech you got in this game was unnecessary. You at 6. At 8, you get suspended. We can't afford you to get suspended because of technical fouls. You gotta relax. I love the fire. I love the passion. You gotta relax. The tech you got in the New York Liberty game wasn't called for, in my opinion.
And I have to be honest with you, because I am not doing the thing where one side is perfect and the other side is the villain. That technical was not necessary. It just wasn't. I love the fire. The competitiveness is a huge part of why the arenas are full. But when you are sitting on a technical count that close to the suspension threshold, every single reaction becomes a math problem. You are not just letting off steam anymore. You are spending a currency you are running out of. There was a technical earlier in the season against New York that I did not think was warranted at all. That one I will argue about all day. This one was self-inflicted. And when you are the player the entire league's television numbers are quietly leaning on, self-inflicted risk is a luxury you cannot afford. Nobody wins if the biggest draw in the sport misses games over a whistle argument.
I mean, certainly there are conversations, you know, and there have to be conversations. It's a long season. And then, you know, certainly after you get to the 8, I don't know what it is. What is it, like every 2 after that? Every 2 after that. So making sure that we're strategic in using.
Being strategic with our technicals. That is the coaching answer. And on paper, it is the right answer. But think about the position that puts the player in. You are being asked to compete at the highest emotional intensity for 40 minutes. Then instantly regulate that intensity the second a call goes against you, while also playing on a minute's leash you were told does not exist, on the second night of a back-to-back, in front of a sold-out building that paid a premium specifically to watch you. That is a lot of contradictory instruction landing on one person. Play free but not too free. You're fine but you're capped. There's no restriction, but you're coming out with 3.5 minutes left in every quarter. Somewhere in there, the message stops being coaching and starts being noise.
Our technical fouls.
You outscore them, I believe, 18-3 in fast break points. I know that's always an emphasis for you guys, but to see it on the second night of a back-to-back, I guess, how impressed were you with that?
Very impressed. I thought our mental focus was good. 30 points off of turnovers, really good. You know, it really, our defense allowed us, I don't know what it was in the second half, but I felt like our defense allowed us to get out and play at the pace that we wanted to, with the exception of, we had 2 at halftime.
Now, credit where it is due, because those numbers are real, and they are genuinely impressive. 18-3 in fast break points. 30 points off turnovers. On the back end of a back-to-back. That is not a fluke stat line, that is a team that decided to run. But sit with the logic for 1 second. The pace was the emphasis. The transition attack was the thing that won the game. And who is the engine of a transition attack? The point guard who pushes it off the rebound before the defense sets. The one who's facilitating the same coach just called outstanding. So the offense that broke the game open is being powered by the player who is being pulled off the floor for the last 3.5 minutes of every quarter. Which happens to be exactly the stretch where a run either gets extended or gets erased. You built the identity around the accelerator, and then you keep tapping the brake at the most important moment of each quarter. Those 2 ideas cannot both be the plan.
It allowed us to get out and play at the pace that we wanted to play.
Stephanie, officiating was.
The defense definitely was better in the second half. Defense in the first half was like trash. Like New York Liberty was shooting like 60% from 3. Like the defense was like embarrassingly bad in the first half.
all over the place today.
You guys, come on.
And this is the part that gets glossed over in the highlight package. The defense in that first half was not acceptable. New York was shooting somewhere around 60% from three. 60%. That is not variance. That is not hot shooting. That is open looks generated over and over by broken coverage. Yet the post-game narrative was about pace, focus, and how good the second half looked. The first half essentially got skipped high, and you start to notice a pattern in how information leaves that podium. Things that flatter the plan get detail. Things that complicate the plan get a general word and a pivot. Which brings us to the question that has been building this whole video. If you are willing to shape the story about a defensive half, what does that tell you about how the story around the minutes is being shaped?
How can one say you kept the team together when it felt like a drag, especially in the third quarter there?
I mean, you know, I know that we've got some veterans on our team, but we've still got a young core. And I think just continuing to communicate, to bring awareness to poise and composure, to where our energy goes. I mean, you know, we have to funnel our energy into things that are going to help our team. We have to navigate runs and highs and lows and opponents and made and missed shots and defensive coverages, you know, to expend too much energy over things we can't control.
Composure. Where our energy goes, funnel it into things that help the team. Don't spend energy on things you can't control. Now watch what that language actually does, because it is doing more work than it looks like. Every one of those phrases quietly puts the responsibility on the players. Missed shots, defensive coverages, opponent runs, officiating, all external, all out of our hands, all just noise to absorb. The one variable that is not external, the one thing that is completely and entirely under the control of the people on that stage, is how many minutes a healthy player is allowed to be on the floor. That is not weather. That is not the referees. That is a choice somebody makes on a whiteboard before the game starts. So when the message to the group is control what you can control, it is fair to ask the same standard be applied upward. You control the rotation. You control the cap. You control what gets said about it in front of a microphone. Apply your own rule.
I've watched Kelsey for a long time, since before she was in college. You know, she works at it. She loves to be in the gym, and she just wants to win. And I think it continues to show in her demeanor. I think it continues to show that she doesn't get, you know, too high, too low. She just plays.
I definitely think Kelsey Mitchell played an outstanding game.
And here is the reveal I told you was coming, because everything I have shown you so far points at one thing. The restriction was not a feeling. It was a template. 3 3/4 minutes shaved off the end of every single quarter, 4 times, landing you almost exactly at that reported 25-minute number, with 1 minute of slack. That is not a coach watching a player's legs and making a judgment call. That is arithmetic decided in advance and then executed regardless of how she looked. Because remember, they said on the record that she looked fine. Now think about what gets removed when you take a player off the floor in the last 3.5 minutes of every quarter. You remove her from end-of-period possessions. You remove her from the 2-for-1. You remove her from the closing stretch where efficiency numbers, plus minus, and clutch stats are made. You are not just limiting the workload, you are limiting the statistical footprint. Whether that is the intent or purely a side effect, that is the outcome. And the outcome is measurable. That is why the language matters so much. If you call it a restriction, everyone can evaluate the results in context. If you call it heavy minutes, the numbers get judged as if she had a full night. Same player, same 26 minutes. 2 completely different stories depending on which word leaves the podium.
Kelsey Mitchell's been playing well, but at the end of the day, Stephanie White has not been being transparent. The Indiana Fever have no transparency when it comes to these injuries, when it comes to like what's actually going on. It's always like some sort of funny business. And you know, at this point, it's just like you can't really trust them. You can't really trust them when it comes to like being transparent with the injuries and what's going on. And for her to sit there and say Caitlin Clark played heavy minutes,
and that is the actual cost here. Not one quote, not one night. Trust. Because once a fan base decides the information coming out of a building is unreliable, every future statement gets discounted automatically. A real injury update gets treated like spin. A genuine day-to-day gets read as code. A legitimate load management decision gets called sabotage. The organization loses the ability to be believed even when it is telling the complete truth, and that is a wound you cannot stitch with a press release. None of this had to happen. Say the plan. Say there is a cap. Say roughly what it is. Say when it lifts. Fans handle bad news constantly. What they do not handle is being told before the game that there is no restriction and told after the game that 26 minutes was heavy. Those two sentences cannot live in the same building. One of them is doing something other than informing. To be clear, I am not claiming anyone is deliberately suppressing a player's numbers. That is an accusation, not a fact. And nobody outside that locker room can prove intent. What I can point at is the pattern, the timing, the exact minute total, and the word choice. That is what is in front of us. So you tell me which one you actually believe. Is this a careful medical ramp-up that is being communicated badly by a coach protecting her player, or is this a deliberate cap being dressed up in language designed so nobody can pin it down? Pick one and drop it in the comments, because there is no middle ground on this one. Like the video if you want me staying on this every single week, subscribe if you are not already, share it with somebody who thinks 26 minutes is heavy, and I will see you in the next one.